story. Criminal charges against 3 former senior SARS officials have today been officially withdrawn. You'll remember they are Ivan Pillay, Johan van Lochrenberg and Andries Janssen van Rensburg, who were implicated in the so-called rogue unit saga. The NPA announcing the decision earlier this month, and their brief appearance in the High Court in Pretoria today sealed the deal. In a statement, the 3 men's lawyers say no evidence existed about this so-called rogue unit. Well, joining us now as the 3 welcome that decision is the legal representative, Bernard Hotz. Good evening to you and welcome. 4 words from the bench today. You are free to go. As I've just mentioned, 6 years of litigation is over. I'm assuming that they feel happy, but they must be annoyed about all of this. It's been a long time.
Very mixed emotions, Jeremy. It was quite amazing to watch the expression on the judge when he said those words. And if one looks at the path that my clients have had to travel, when all that they were doing was doing their work as dedicated, experienced civil servants who were looking out for the best interests of the country, for them to have had to have sat in the accused dock on numerous occasions to meet a case that should never ever have come out of the starting blocks. Very mixed emotions today.
We can talk about motive in that respect in just a moment, but the decision to drop the charges eventually stemmed from representations, I'm assuming by yourself, to the National Prosecuting Authority. How did you argue this? What was contained in those representations?
Jeremy, the first thing we must understand is that the notion of submitting representations is nothing unusual. It happens on a daily basis in criminal cases where an accused person has the right to make representations to the National Directorate of Prosecutions to reconsider whether or not to prosecute. And the whole purpose behind it is to avoid courts being burdened with hearing matters that, quite frankly, should never ever have started. So what happened in this instance is we, at long last, had a correct audience. And when I say a correct audience, I mean a National Director of Public Prosecutions and a team who are practicing law in the right manner. Not abusing the law, but practicing law in the right manner. And what we did is we put forward very detailed representations to show them the case that they presented. First of all, we still have no idea of the full docket, because the full docket has never to date been provided. What we showed them was that evidence that they were relying upon is in fact not evidence. We showed them that there was evidence that we knew that they were in possession of that was suppressed. And we also drew to their attention evidence which perhaps they weren't aware of, which would help contextualize and understand that really the motive behind this was anything but prosecuting wrongdoers.
I presume that previously you had made these representations, but they fell on deaf ears.
Funnily enough, Jeremy, my clients were never given the opportunity beforehand to make representations. We called for an opportunity to make representations. We, in fact, had to launch applications to court to say we're entitled to make representations. My clients went through a stage, and bearing in mind that this is the second prosecution under the same case number. The first attempted prosecution, the aborted prosecution, was when Sean Abrams announced with fanfare the prosecution of Minister Gordhan. That was withdrawn because of a suppression of evidence. Here too, under the same case number.
So you're quoted as saying today that this was a nefarious agenda with the intention of decimating the work that SARS was doing. Who was driving that nefarious agenda, if I've quoted you correctly?
Jeremy, there's no doubt in my clients' minds, and if one reads the Nugent report, there was a definite agenda to destroy SARS. If one looks at fact, not fiction, and looks at what this unit, the lawful unit within SARS that was established to combat the illicit trade in this country, what did they achieve before the unit was closed down? The country would be astounded if they knew how effective this unit was, bringing billions of rands back into the economy out of the hands of organized crime. That unit was decimated. Why? Because it did not suit the agenda of those people who were behind state capture, who needed to capture various organizations, including SARS, to have people in the ranks whose job it was to uphold the law.
So Your client's been vindicated today. Whichever way you look at it, it has impacted on, it's taken a personal toll, but it's also impacted on their reputation. Is there further recourse that they can or would be seeking?
Indeed. One mustn't forget, however, that unfortunately they are still embroiled in litigation at this moment in time against the Public Protector. My clients have also instituted proceedings against the Inspector General of Intelligence regarding this report in 2014 that, to say the least, is a travesty of justice. So, yes, indeed, they are considering future actions to take against people who have been identified as being behind this decimation.
Name them for me.
You will well appreciate that this isn't the forum within which to name it. Suffice to say that there are numerous people, and it goes from within SARS ranks to law enforcement to NPA and elsewhere, who did the wrong thing.
How soon might that action be taken?
Difficult to say at this stage. You'll appreciate.
All right, Bernard Hotz, thank you very much indeed.